we're going to get running water in the audio. Could anyone turn the river off, please? The comment section's going to go mad with running water. Just turn the volume down on the river, please. Nature. The Trek has gone full rogue here. Their new Checkout gravel bike has full suspension, a dropper post, mountain bike gearing, and pretty much mountain bike tires. Although I'm often an early adopter, when I first saw this drop bar Franken bike, like you, I honestly thought the industry had officially lost the plot. But here's the twist. The Checkout is way less weird once you realize what it can actually do. So let's break down why the Checkout went from meme material to I kinda want one. Okay, so in this video, I'll run you through what I think are the 10 vital stats of the bike. Also, I'm going to focus heavily on the ride impressions and commentary across a variety of terrain so you can get an idea on how the bike rides, and more importantly, if it's something that will suit you and where you ride. Then, because we Saffers like to race everything, I will touch on what a performance or race build might end up being. But first, what the heck is it? The Checkout sits in Trek's gravel lineup, but don't think of it as another version of the Checkpoint. This is a different beast. Trek built it from the ground up to handle properly rough gravel, forest roads, jeep track, and tamer single track. Basically the unsanitized surfaces that make up a lot of South Africa's riding spots. In other words, this isn't a road bike with fat tires anymore. It's a purpose-built short travel rig with drop bars and a dropper post, and once you approach it from that angle, suddenly things click. Come on, Miles, you shouldn't need a script. How are you, brother? Okay, so here's the 10 vital stats. The model on test is the SL7. It's a full carbon frame with 55mm rear and 60mm front travel with no proprietary, aka tricky to service components. Actual weight is 10.9 kgs, that's size medium, set up tubeless with a bottle cage and a little dirt from my roll around Table Mountain. Lucky me. Compared to the geometry of the Checkpoint, the Checkout has a little more stack, more reach, and a head angle that is about 2.5 degrees slacker. Essentially, it's longer and slacker, but not quite full-blown XC geometry. Tire clearance is 56mm or 2.2. It's a 100mm dropper post. Most of the frame sizes have 18 mounting points. It has this unique adjustable multi-mount system to get that perfect position and alignment of your bottles and bags. The floating rack has an additional 15 mounts and attaches so your cargo doesn't impact suspension performance. Max chainring size is 38 and the group set is a smorgasbord of SRAM's Force and SRAM EXO in a 1x12 Eagle configuration. On smoother off-road stuff, having the suspension kind of felt like overkill, but it's very easy to lock out, which brings the efficiency very close to that of a fully rigid bike. So smooth, so ridiculously it drops, and tires are still not full mountain bike tires, but so ridiculous the gears drops and have this smooth ride on rocky gravel. Morning. This is quite bad. It's like a whole different riding experience. Yeah, that would have been a whole different face plant experience. Let's see what she's like in a bit of single track. So obviously that's not a single track shredder, this bike, but bit of thick sand here. But it's an exploring bike, an adventure bike, a backpacking bike, a fun bike, a go anywhere bike. It's a bloody anything bike. And in all of those genres, you might find single track. So I'm not saying it's a single track shredder, rah rah rah, it's not. But it just goes anywhere. So to the question of, is 55mm enough? Yes. It makes a huge difference. I've ridden through on a fully rigid gravel bike, probably going half the speeds, scared for my life a combination of front and rear suspension and then the dropper burst and just like crazy bar flare really enables the bike. In single track, as long as you don't expect it to handle like a full-blown XC bike, it's pretty impressive. Compared to a fully rigid gravel bike, it's a lot more capable, smooth, safe and fun. On steep and slick climbs, it sails up loose surfaces that I wouldn't even attempt on a fully rigid. The grip here climbing on this bumpy stuff is absolutely insane. So yeah, suspension open, I'm running about 35-40 psi on the back. I weigh 70 kilos, got about 25 psi on the front, and this is bumpy, man, and like loose over hard, lots of loose stones and sharp fixed rocks, and yeah, it's climbing up here like a supercar. I'd never bring a fully rigid gravel bike up here, no chance. This thing's incredible. On a couple occasions during testing, jumping in with a road group, I was working hard but felt like I'd be able to stay in the bunch on a moderately paced road outing. Any Tuesday roadie hammerfest like LPC or Engine to Engine would be a different story entirely. So yeah, this bike's not built specifically for tar, but I bet you if you are wondering about buying this bike, you're also wondering about how it performs on the tar. And I can tell you, you work a little harder on the flats and you feel the less aeroness, if that's a word, once you're above like 30k an hour, 35k an hour. But like here, drop it down. This corner I've hit on a road bike a million times, and the confidence you get from these big tires and from the like slacker geometry of this bike is quite insane. It's like I don't feel that much slower along here right now than I would on my Monda, but it's quite an insane feeling of being at that pace and also just feeling so safe. You've got all this grip, all the compliance from the big volume tires, the suspension is open and I can see it is working, and also because you're in a bit more of an upright position, it just feels rad. And I'll admit the huge flare on these bars does look a bit wacky on paper and when you first look at the bike, but as soon as you start riding it, like the flare in the bars is insane. So around here I'm going to hit every single manhole in this turn, something I'd never do on a road bike, but yeah, on this bike it's like you hardly even feel it. And also with slower speeds comes more safety, you know, like I'm going to hit the brakes here really hard and watch how quickly this thing can stop. Like look at that. That's like half the stopping distance than a road bike would give you. So yeah, and obviously then it's just super comfy on like your body position being more upright, having a whole lot more places to put your hands on the bike. It's just a lot more comfortable than certainly what I experienced on any of the road bikes I've owned and tested. Also worth noting is a huge percentage of riders are urban based and don't have farm roads on their doorstep. Instead, urban based riders encounter random obstacles on their neighborhood loop, like a road with no safe shoulder or other tricky stuff. In these random conditions, the Checkout excels like no other. In this stock 10.9 kg setup, you can feel the weight, but it's not a tank and it does climb better than an XC bike. Okay, so after exposing the Checkout to all these conditions, I'll sum up the ride feel in 3 words: stable, comfortable, and fast. And if I was heading out on a multi-day bikepacking mission, those are the key attributes I'd want from my bike. On our website you can find more bro math details on how to get this bike under the 9 kg mark, which brings it within 2 kgs of what a top of the range fully rigid gravel race bike is. In this race setup, your racing performance upsides from the Checkout are really twofold. Firstly, the additional weight is not rotational, so the negative impacts on performance are vastly reduced. Secondly, you have the option to open or close suspension depending on what the terrain is doing, which would do things like improve traction on steep climbs, reduce the chance of flattening, reduce body fatigue, improve performance on every descent, and last but not least, the suspension makes it safer. With gravel very much being a case of horses for courses, there is definitely a case to be made for converting the checkout into a race whip, especially for ultra endurance events like the Manga, maybe Garden Route Giro, and perhaps even Gravel Burn. However, professionals who do 30 hours of training a week might not need a full suspension race bike, but I do think most riders would benefit from the better handling, comfort, and fatigue fighting capabilities, especially on those rough courses. Personally, I'm not a serious racer anymore, but if I was doing any gravel event that's more than 3 hours, I'd want to ride this over a fully rigid. Hands down, no doubt. Again, this can it be race debate is very much a case of horses for courses. Okay, so here's my executive summary. If your riding takes you off the predictable paths, into the back roads, forgotten farm tracks and janky trails to connect the routes, the checkout starts making a lot of sense. And crucially, it rides like it was built for those conditions, not adapted to them. For the rider who wants a single bike to handle gravel, adventure, social racing, bike packing, neighborhood rolls and a bit of trail, this could be the one. Massive kudos to Trek. This might be their most compelling one bike option they've released in years. Right, that's a wrap. Drop any questions in the comment section and enjoy your ride.